Ladies and gentlemen, I'm kind of embarrassed because I heard the presentation last night, and while many things have already been mentioned, therefore let me just start with something which we have learned from history in Europe. Maybe you know the myth. At the beginning, it's a story of violation, and well, Europe is based on violence. The Phrygian daughter of Europe is violated by Zeus, and out of bad conscience, he gives her three gifts. A spear, which is always hitting the goal, the fastest dog of the world, with a wonderful name, Lailaps, and a bronze man who runs around Crete every day to chase away the foreigners, Talos. Well, if you consider this mythology, then you may say, well, maybe everything is correct on the level of the spear, which is always hitting, and maybe also on the level of the fastest dog, but something is wrong. And the question, how come that it's not right, that something is missing in terms of social conditions which are needed for Europe to be created. Well, let me recall one situation in Europe which introduced the first collective learning process, namely the Westphalian Peace. In those wars, there was a murderous atmosphere. The 30 Years' War, well, there everyone was fighting against everyone, and it was not about political fronts. Maybe you don't know that Richelieu paid the Swedes for reasons of power, and at the end of the Westphalian War, the question is who would pay for the withdrawal of the Swedish army, according to the documents. Hence, we need something which needs to be settled, which is not easy to be settled. But these files on the Westphalian Peace are the first documents of this nature. So it's about the European peace, peace européen. And something comes into being, what we are faced with today again, namely the empowerment in terms of sovereignty of individual states. The jus bellum is shifted to the individual states. They need not justify anymore why they wage wars. Every war is justified after the Westphalian Peace. And that's a bloody European affair. The cabinet wars and everything belonging to them is still a bloody undertaking. And we learn from that. Many philosophical things, the separation of legality and morality, stem from the Westphalian Peace. The notion of tolerance is cemented there. Hence, it's a normative legal matter which is broken time and again, but which is there and which phrases ambitions. And now these nation states are developing into independence over 300-400 years. Now, what about the opening up the disentanglement of these rights of sovereignty, especially those which have just gained their independence, like Poland, many other countries, the Czech Republic. I can understand, because they are saying, well, we have just now found our independence and our sovereignty, and now Brussels come, this need to be, and says this need to be corrected again. With that, I just want to say that with this kind of business management type of reason, we cannot resolve such problems. And we need a long breath, telling us that Europe is a collective learning project. With that, I also mean the relationship of the European peoples amongst one another. It is sad to see that investigations show that the Portuguese around 1300 had more intensive contacts with the Estonians because of the Hanseatic principles than nowadays. Hence, the European peoples are not even mature to understand what foreigners are all about. And this starts with our neighbors. Well, Europe as a collective learning project, to be considered this way, is an important point, because the dimension of time, of change, and of loss of sovereignty cannot be considered along the yardsticks of shortened time. I mean, you can shorten my lecture by showing me a poster, only 5 minutes are left. But this is not possible, this is not conceivable on the historical level. And many people who investigated the Westphalian Peace, like Schiller, said, well, the Westphalian Peace needs to be treated separately, and Hegel speaks of Europe as organized anarchy. Let's take the second collective learning project, the social welfare state. After the disaster of fascism and democracy in Europe, and I'm talking about European correlations, the social welfare state was not only something for the needy, but the social welfare state, in the major definitions, is the very substance of democracy. Without social welfare state, democracy cannot be maintained. If individuals now try and exploit the social welfare state, they will see that they have to spend ever more for the security state. If you exploit the social welfare state, you will have to spend all the more funds on the security-based state because of the potentials of violence which grow bigger internally, and that is what is disturbing in this European debate, namely that the working conditions are also in question. Well, we cannot say that we have a well-functioning democracy with prosperity in business. Well, that is also the case, but something is missing, obviously. Not all people are happy and satisfied. In other words, the center we are talking about here, namely the European dimension of politics, of Cameron and other ones, the center is taking place in the fears of expropriation amongst people right here. If these fears of expropriation keep growing, if people have the feeling that they are taking away something, and for the Spanish youth, Europe is an area where something is snatched from you and where you are not brought something. And if this is the case, this touches upon the internal structure of our society, and it has not directly anything to do with the issue of the refugees. But the issue of refugees is good reason not to discuss specific things. And as a matter of fact, people will ask themselves more and more, what is going on with our governments? And the apathy vis-à-vis political action is growing more and more. So let me ask the question at this very point in time to know what could be a third collective learning process, including the fact that the extent to which the raw material of fear is growing in society, hence that something is gathering which can be used even at the right wing in any color, and that this is made visible, what can be exploited. So let me focus the European debate more on the internal, structural and systematic problems. The Talos can march on. And now he's not only running around Crete, but the territory has been enlarged. But this doesn't change anything in the fact that we experience something like Europe as a collective learning project. And by that I mean how people get along with one another within Europe. What happens with the tried reduction of fears, because democracy is the only social order based on constitution which need to be learned. All other orders like authoritarian or totalitarian are also existing, and no one is seduced to learn. And even less so as a knowledge which is made available for orientation's sake, which would be an essential part and parcel of such a European dimension of the discussion. Now, how to go about the problem of refugees, I don't know. I only know something, since I'm also a refugee in dual terms, and in Germany it's still another major difference whether people come from other cultures and with other language background. Eastern Prussia, Königsberg, well, that can be added up. We were closed for 6 weeks there, separated from our parents. Then we were transported by the naval forces to Denmark. 250,000 refugees were taken to Denmark within 6 weeks' time, a country with 4 million inhabitants, mind you. In my new book, I established a list of people and things which were claimed, not only sports halls or swimming pools, but even private homes. And yet, after capitulation, there was not a situation according to which the Danes misbehaved. Not a single bomb was thrown into any home or where refugees were staying. And this is an example illustrating that it's possible to make an effort and to isolate someone who was revenge of the Danes for their losses. But to keep dignity in the refugee camps is a totally different problem. And that's what happened during those times, within 2.5 years which I spent in refugee camps. I don't know either how to find a quick solution. There won't be a quick solution because no one can cope with all these masses which were not expected. But to open a dimension for discussion which goes beyond the question to know how to handle these refugees, I think that is something very crucial, and I'm surprised that I have not yet been reminded that my time is up. Well, then I just rely on my own internal clock. Well, another 5 minutes, I've just been told. Anyway, this is this management, Visionless type kind of reason which has been partially damaged. It has its limits, and they are legitimate. No doubt about that. I don't abandon this concept, but this does not suffice. Well, in this European context, we need to go into a more general discussion for that matter, since we have to assume and realize that this is one of the biggest historic projects. Ruin Europe would have unimaginable repercussions, both in subjective and objective and economic terms, but especially regarding mentality of people, proneness to disappointment. Hence, we need to succeed somehow in that regard. But this cannot happen with a rash approach. We also need to develop a historic awareness for Europe, for that matter, because we are faced with sovereign states which want to leave their jus bellis apaces, the foundation of the Westphalian Peace. The right to war and peace is now obviously lost. And the question is, what are the consequences for the population struggling for identity? Until you can say, I'm a European, you would first say, when you're asked, what's your background, what nationality are you? Well, that takes time. That takes a long time. But it has to come sooner or later if this Europe shall succeed. Because this issue of identity has something to do with the logic of orientation of history. Let me just illustrate this with one quick example to show what the relation between utopia and reality is like. I think it's a far-reaching topic, but in the finance manipulations and all the safety nets and bailout packages, we've gained the impression that science fiction is underway. Well, you cannot imagine securities in an order of magnitude of national budgets. Is that still reality or is it fiction? Question mark. Well, and we need to stick to specific utopia for this identity building in the future. Let's take the term of dignity and how it has changed. Originally, it's the dignity in office, dignitas was Cicero and other ones, that the given dignity. For Kant, dignity gets into the center of personality and personal dignity, and there's no way around it, despite all solutions. We must not shoot, we must not do certain things. That means Dignity has become a constitutive part of democracy. The most fatal thing for the European countries would be if they were to abandon their own historically achieved principles, or if they were to violate them. And pursuant to Kant, dignity is an essential feature to get out of the personal shortcomings which people have created for themselves. So whatever solutions may look like, the personal dignity is always affected, and Kant has said dignity does not have a price, hence it cannot be substituted. The Weimar Constitution doesn't know the notion dignity, but it doesn't know man either, but only the state citizen. The Weimar Constitution has been designed like that. And this takes us to the beginning of our basic law, which represents a tremendously big step. And that's the order of magnitude for the orientation regarding any other action. Thank you for your time.